Natsu and Zeref's story. Now, Natsu and Zeref, they without a doubt have one of the biggest and one of the most interesting character interactions throughout the whole series of Fairy Tail. I mean, just from what we've heard about all the myths of Zeref and everything we've been hearing about him since the beginning of the series, made me just think, damn, the way how Hiro Mashima tied these two characters together is amazing. Now, what am I talking about? Let's take it all the way back to the beginning of Fairy Tail when Eisenhwerd, the guy with the flute, when he was about to destroy everybody. That's when Zeref was first brought up. That's when we really got to see some of the dark guilds and what their true intentions were. And ever since then, majority of the Fairy Tail arcs have been about Natsu and the guild trying to stop these dark guilds from reviving Zeref or trying to carry out some type of Zeref plan. We saw with the Tower of Heaven arc, one of the greatest arcs in the series. We see Erasing Seiya, one of my personal favorites, and my favorite out of all, or besides Taros, but my other favorite is Tenro Island. We saw all these people trying to resurrect Zeref, trying to use his power or something, and I think that's just amazing because little do we know, all the systems like the revival system, that was all used towards Natsu. Now, what do I mean by that? We know that Zeref, he created Natsu after, well, he didn't necessarily create him, he revived Natsu after Natsu was killed off by a dragon. So we know that he made him into a demon, and ever since then, once we found out that the stuff like the R system was used to revive Natsu, well, it was an attempt to revive Natsu, I found that amazing because that's basically like foreshadowing. Like, think about that. We were seeing all these things that all these dark guilds were trying to use to revive Zeref, but in reality, all those things that they're trying to use to revive Zeref, they were supposed to be for Natsu. And I think that's amazing because Zeref, that just shows how smart he is and actually shows how much he cares about his brother. Now, back to what I said about the Tenro Island arc. When we saw Natsu and Zeref's first encounter, that was amazing because back then nobody knew what was going on. We saw Zeref, he was just walking around, he was just killing things without, like, he wasn't even trying to kill things, he was just being so epic. And then when he ran into Natsu, we just saw him crying and everybody was like, whoa, what the hell? Me personally, I made a couple jokes saying, okay, maybe he's in love with Natsu or something, it's love on first sight, that's why he's crying. So I found that funny, but at the same time, it was so weird because why would he be crying? Later down that arc, we saw that nobody was able to touch Zeref except for Natsu, so that was another mystery. A lot of people thought that it was due to the scarf because the scarf did turn black once he did touch it, but we know that's not the case. Now, fast forward to the Tartaros arc when Zeref and Natsu met and when Zeref froze time. That's when we started to drop a little bit more knowledge. He was basically telling him that, yo, END is a fire demon, Igneel couldn't kill him. And to be honest, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but back when I had my other channel, I don't know if a lot of you guys know about that, but I actually called the theory about Igneel and Zeref being friends. So that's actually cool, or at least them having some type of connection. We know that Zeref, he cared for Natsu a lot, and I think that the fact that Zeref said that even Igneel couldn't kill him, that showed that Natsu was END because Igneel loved Natsu. There's no way he's going to kill him off just because he's a demon. That's just simple. So when Zeref dropped those hints back in the Tartaros arc, that was amazing. And then at the end of the Tartaros arc, when Zeref told Natsu, you have to overtake the END Eterius Natsu Dragneel, that was amazing. That's one of the biggest plot twists ever in Fairy Tail, so that was dope. Now we're in the Alvarez Empire arc, and we've seen Natsu and Zeref both go at it. We've seen them fight a little bit, and to be honest, Natsu, he says that he could have defeated Zeref, but I don't know if he was going to be able to kill him back then because Zeref is immortal at the end of the day. So I don't know if his Blaze Dragon King mode with Igneel's power would have worked, but it would have been cool if Zeref actually died, because then we already know the connection between that. If Zeref dies and Natsu dies, so Natsu would have most likely died along with him, and I think that would be cool. But there's also been one thing that I've been thinking about. Even though these two have an amazing connection, they have one of the greatest connections, what will happen after this arc is done? We know that Natsu and Zeref, they're going to have to fight at some point, and I know there's a huge theory going around that Zeref, he has his lifeline connected to Natsu. Me personally, I don't believe that because I don't think that I don't think that if Natsu dies, Zeref will die too, because look at it like this: Zeref created Natsu, so if anything, it should just be Natsu depending on Zeref. We've seen Zeref, he lost a whole bunch of strong demons in the past, so I don't think that if Natsu gets hurt or if he dies or something, Zeref would be affected at all. So I don't necessarily believe in that theory, but there is one thing that I do believe in. There is a possibility that after this whole arc is done, Zeref may turn good. Now look at it like this: maybe at this point Natsu, yes, they're in the middle of a war, and Natsu, he recognizes that Zeref is his enemy. But what if throughout the war Natsu thinks, you know what, maybe this guy is the reason, maybe I should actually forgive this guy because he is the reason why I'm alive. Zeref, he is basically the person who gave Natsu life. So what if Natsu has some change of heart throughout the war? Now what would that mean? I don't mean that Zeref would actually turn his back on the Spriggan 12. Obviously, if Zeref did turn good, it would have to occur at the end of the arc where all the Spriggan 12 members will be defeated and it will just be Zeref left. And at that point, I think it'll be cool because it could be setting up for future arcs. Now what do I mean by that? The future arc that I'm talking about is Natsu and Zeref versus God Ank'Saram. Now I know there's a lot of people don't know who that is, but God Ank'Saram, he is the one who cursed Zeref. So what if Natsu and Zeref both go on their own little mission to find him, and they actually try to defeat him to take out the curse, to make Zeref be able to live happily and he'll actually be able to die. Now at that point, I do think that if they actually do team up, it will be a cool side arc because it will just be focusing around Natsu and Zeref, and we could actually see Zeref tell Natsu some stuff that he never knew about. Like maybe you could tell him this is how you control your E and D power, and you can even tell him stuff about the history of the family, because we know that Zeref, he knows about the Dragoneel family. He was obviously alive back then, so I think that'll be a cool arc to see. But overall, what do you guys think about the connection between Natsu and Zeref? And would you want Zeref to turn good? And on top of that, would you like to see him team up? Comment what you guys think down below. Subscribe if you haven't. Peace out.